You're listening to Nereid Atlas, where international news gets unpacked a little more carefully. Today, Cuban artist and dissident Manuel Otero Alcántara is out of prison and in the United States. He'd been serving a 5-year sentence in Cuba on charges including contempt and public disorder. This week, he was released on the condition he leave the island, and he arrived under U.S. parole. That's the headline. It's a moment that mixes relief with dislocation. The stakes run beyond one person. How Cuba handles dissent, what exile means right now, and the quiet bargaining space between Havana and Washington. The tension we're sitting with is straightforward. If freedom depends on departure, what kind of freedom is that? For this episode, we worked through 8 articles from 7 outlets across 6 countries, newspapers and TV, in English, French, Italian, Serbian, and Spanish, all from July 19, 2026. The picture changes once you set them side by side. Elena's been tracing that, and she's here. Nereid Atlas. Synthetic voices. Real analysis. They called it a release. But the release came with a plane ticket.
A key that only works on the exit door. Manuel Otero Alcántara is out of a Cuban prison after 5 years and into U.S. exile.
So, is he free or just relocated? Because that word exile carries the state with it.
That's the tension. The Cuban government ends a headache at home. The United States offers humanitarian parole, and the media decides whether we hear a liberation, a banishment, or a trade.
The pictures from Miami, cheering crowds, flags, it reads as triumph, but also a goodbye he didn't choose.
One outlet said, "Heroes welcome." Another framed it as lands in U.S. exile. The verbs pull you to different places, welcomed versus expelled.
And then there's the legal fog. I saw 5 years without trial, and also sentenced in 2022. Which is it?
Both, depending on what you center. He was arrested during the 2021 protests, later given a 5-year sentence on charges like public disorder, contempt, and insulting national symbols. Amnesty labeled him a prisoner of conscience. Whether you emphasize the sentence or the process says a lot about your priors.
Insulting national symbols. That's doing a lot of work. He's an artist.
And in Cuba, art collides with the state's sense of sacredness. He co-founded the San Isidro movement. Artists, writers, musicians. A public, visible challenge to the boundaries.
Okay, but why now? Why let him go now if he was useful as a warning?
Context. A U.S. senator pushes Havana to release hundreds more political prisoners. Around the same time, Cuban authorities publicize a decree granting freedom to thousands. If you're the state, you turn a dissident into evidence of clemency.
And if you're Washington, you get the human rights victory lap. Look, our parole saved him.
Not to mention the politics of Miami. The exile community is an amplifier and a constituency. A high-profile dissident arriving there is both story and signal.
Meanwhile, for him, it's safety with a cost. You can't protest in Havana from Little Havana.
That's the bargain regimes prefer. Remove the voice from the square, let it echo abroad. It quiets the street even as the international noise grows.
So media frames become part of the instrument. Release, exile, parole. Each word shifts the meaning of the same flight.
And notice what's absent in some coverage. The condition. He's free, but only on the condition of leaving. That's not parole in the American sense. It's exit as sentence.
Which makes the cheering at the airport both right and a little heartbreaking.
That doubleness is the point. The state curates it.
And we retell it, maybe without seeing the curation.
Or we see it and decide which part we want to emphasize.
So what does emphasizing the exile change, practically?
It forces us to ask who benefited from the plane taking off, not just who was on it.
Let's sit with that. Who benefited?
Havana removes a symbol of defiance. No more San Isidro installations appearing in Old Havana to be filmed and shared. They also get to gesture at mercy, which matters when you're courting any easing from abroad.
And Washington?
A clean headline and no messy asylum backlog. Humanitarian parole is precise bureaucratically and emotionally antiseptic. It sounds generous and it avoids the word banishment.
Media differences mirror that, right? Cultural pages in Europe stress artist. US TV hits dissident hero. Latin coverage leans on the immigration status. Amparo migratorio.
Exactly. Those choices flatten or expand who he is. Artist foregrounds creation and censorship. Dissident hero centers the moral theater. Migration status makes the state the protagonist. The paperwork is the action.
But the charge sheet, disrespect for national symbols, that's not neutral. It's the state criminalizing how you talk to a flag.
And that's why the exile is potent. If your authority rests on sacralized symbols, keeping the critic inside the symbolic territory is risky. Export him, the symbolism restabilizes.
He loses more than geography. He loses an audience that needs him most.
Though there's a counterpoint. Exile can supercharge a voice. Miami has studios, donors, press. The hero's welcome isn't just sentiment, it's infrastructure.
Yeah, but infrastructure for whom? For people who already believe. Can his work still reach kids in Havana scrolling on a slow connection?
Sometimes. The island listens even when it pretends not to. But the risk shifts. The courage of showing up at a plaza becomes the risk of being cut off at customs the next time you try to return.
Return, as if that's on the table. Is it?
That's the unspoken clause. Exile often means indefinite. The punishment continues as absence.
It's tidy for states, messy for humans.
And it sets a market. Dissidents become bargaining chips. Release equals departure. Stay equals prison.
So the next activist knows the options, the cell or the airport.
Which is why the language matters. If we keep calling this release, we normalize a menu designed by the jailer.
How would you write it?
He was freed from prison on the condition of exile, after being sentenced on speech-related charges. It puts the cost and the cause in the same sentence.
And what does he say he'll do?
Keep making art. Keep speaking. That's what he can control.
There's a tenderness in that, but also a trap. The more visible he becomes abroad, the easier it is to say, "See, he's fine now. Story over."
The story over there is the one that matters, and it's quieter without him.
So the airport applause is right and incomplete.
Freedom that requires leaving home isn't the end of the sentence. It's how the sentence travels.
And maybe that's the part we don't put in headlines, because it doesn't fit on a welcome banner.